Hey everyone, it is Stove here, and hopefully, whenever I'm doing this, I just got done recording the NFL review of this past weekend, and now I'm, of course, going to be doing this college review of last weekend, and technically last week. So, obviously, if you guys are watching this, please go back over to the other video if you haven't already. Watch that either after this video or before you decide to watch this video. Either one is perfect for me as long as you guys view the stuff. I am very appreciative of it. Anyway, so last week you had a lot of the lower conferences. Miami, Ohio versus Ohio University. Very close game. Ohio ended up winning at home. Akron even having a huge win against Massachusetts. Ball State and Toledo all winning at home. And you even had, you had South Florida absolutely destroy UTSA. But then you also had Georgia Southern be the only team from Tuesday through Thursday to be the only away team to actually win their game. So props to them. And that quarterback that threw 352 passing yards. My goodness. So now you have, going into Friday, you had Northwestern versus USC. And USC put on a clinic. Figured that was really going to happen. And then Houston being able to beat UCF. Very close game too. I was kind of thinking it was going to be a close game, but I was also thinking, well, which UCF are we going to really get here? Are we going to get the competitive one, or are we going to get the one that's been laying down for some of their losses for some of their losses throughout this season? I wouldn't say for the last few weeks or anything. Memphis surprisingly losing against Tulane, but I'm pretty sure same conference, so Tulane being able to beat Memphis at Memphis's place is pretty incredible achievement. But now we get it to Saturday. Ohio State beating Purdue 34-10. Nothing really to see there. Something to see there. Improvement for the Ohio State team, always improving. Indiana versus Penn State, a closer game than I thought, but at the same time I did say Penn State still has those athletes. Penn State still wants to compete. Penn State still wants to upset any teams that they can in their conference, so props to them being able to try to put themselves in the position of winning. But of course, Indiana pulling off the Indiana Jones way of squeaking it by this close and getting the win. So props to Indiana being able to still technically be that number 2 team. I really don't know if they'll end up being swapped, because Texas A&M did just win against a ranked team in phenomenal fashion. So I don't know if they'll flip Indiana and Texas A&M, but we'll see. And mind you, Penn State was at home, Purdue was at home, Missouri was at home, Mississippi State was at home. A lot of these top ranked teams, the top 5 ranked teams, 4 out of the top 5 were away. It's kind of interesting. And even BYU and Oregon were away teams, so that's why it was some very close games. And I think you should really look at the power of a home game for a lot of these different colleges, for real. So obviously, like I said, Texas A&M did their thing, blew out Missouri. LSU pretty much beat Alabama beat LSU the way I thought that they would. Maybe like a touchdown or 10 points less than I thought, but still LSU's defense was able to try to keep Alabama from scoring more than just 20 points. So impressive. It's just Alabama was just a better team that game and is technically a better team than LSU at this moment. Georgia taking care of Mississippi State, but Mississippi State still scoring 21 points. I think that's what we need to kind of look after, is Georgia still technically allowing points throughout the game, even if it's just 21 points from Mississippi State and it's in Mississippi State's home. You also got to think, well, Georgia's also going to have to deal with possibly facing somebody that they're going up against that is, like, they could be at home for Texas A&M. Well, they can be at Texas A&M's home. They can be at Indiana's home. They could possibly be in Alabama's home or something. So still giving up 21 points from Mississippi State can kind of mean a little bit, not completely saying this, but can kind of mean like you're basically giving up 40 points or more to Alabama, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Oregon, like some of these teams that can and have the ability to beat you. Not saying that Mississippi doesn't, because they could have, but obviously Georgia and Mississippi State are two completely different teams, and it showed. Ole Miss, obviously, they took care of business facing this FCC school or whatever the hell they came out of. Texas Tech being able to squash BYU like a bug, pretty much. Texas Tech was at home, so there was a lot more going for the Texas Tech group. However, BYU should have showed at least a little bit more than what they did, because that was just an embarrassment. If it was a closer game, I think a lot more people would be putting their eyes on the conference of the Big 12, I mean. But now, since Texas Tech blew BYU out, a lot of people are just going to be focusing on Texas Tech as an individual team, not as Texas Tech and BYU. Man, they had an incredible matchup. I mean, and now I'm going to look at the Big 12 as a whole. Oh my God, there's an incredible matchup here. There's an incredible matchup there. Like, this is kind of like, it's expected, because Texas Tech just, not all the time are you going to have this, but Texas Tech pretty much used their money wisely with the players that were able to play like monsters out there, pretty much. And like I said, Texas Tech is now going to be looked at as the individual team that is coming out of the Big 12. I don't know if BYU is up there, so I'm assuming that BYU is probably going to still be there whenever it comes to who's going to face who in the Big 12 conference championship, because we're getting very close to that point. However, if it goes the same exact way, a lot of people aren't going to look at the Big 12 like a conference. They're just going to look at Texas Tech, or they're going to look at one team individually coming out of that conference as champions and then moving on, like they have been the last, I don't know how many years. But with the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, you're looking at teams that can do some damage. You're looking at the 3 or the 4 teams that are pretty much going to almost always be up on that top. Sometimes you'll have that 5th or 6th team that surprises some people, or that upsets some higher ranked teams, and that's why they're right there. But other than that, you're not necessarily looking at the Big 12, because the Big 12 is pretty much the Big 10's little brother. And I think each and every one of these conferences, including the smaller ones, can be their own popularity and can have popularity size of millions of people watching. Unfortunately, that's just not how it goes to some things, because you're almost always a part of college playoffs, if you're always a part of conference championships, or if you're always a part of a winning program, you be looked at a certain way compared to some of these other conference teams that aren't always up there, aren't always even ranked, so you're not even getting any TV or television spotlight, so not a lot of people are going to end up watching you unless they watch a bunch of YouTube highlights of the teams playing. But anyway, enough of me rambling about that. Iowa almost beat Oregon. And again, like I said, there's a lot of power whenever it comes to being the home team, and teams like Penn State and Iowa, both in the Big Ten, are, showing that, hey, we almost got y'all, so be careful. If we continue to do what we need to do, we can come to get y'all at any point next season. Because I don't really think Penn State or Iowa are going to be doing anything this year besides having maybe a solid bowl game. But again, this is what I mean. Big Ten has solid matchups like this, even though it's Iowa versus Oregon, even though it's Penn State versus Indiana. Usually, Indiana and Penn State, their rankings are reversed. Indiana are the ones that are pretty much the unranked ones, and Penn State are the ones that are ranked number 2 in the frickin' nation. So, stuff like that. If I would have seen a close game like that with Texas Tech and BYU, I would be the one trying to look at that stuff and be like, man, if these two can go at it, maybe the other Big 12, let me see the other Big 12 matchups. Let me see how those guys did. Because now all of those guys are ranked, but I still want to see them. So anyway, you got Notre Dame handling Navy, Wake Forest upsetting Virginia, California upsetting Louisville. And if you guys go back to my preview of the scheduling, even though it was kind of short, you would see that I pretty much was like, well, even though I was kind of thinking about Wake Forest like nonchalantly, I kind of went back, I'm pretty sure I kind of went back on saying, well, Wake Forest and California University both have had their ups and downs, but still have the ability to upset these guys. And honestly, California, I was more speaking for California, but Wake Forest also did exactly that. So Wake Forest and California both beating 2 ranked teams, and this is ACC right here. These are ACC matchups. I mean, granted, you guys are probably only going to look at it like, well, those ACC teams aren't even that good. And whenever you look at that, maybe, but at the same time, they were at home. Virginia and Louisville were at home. The power of being the home team is true to any team. Believe me. It's just you wake up a beast in Wake Forest and California, defenses can make your teams look like shit. So, in that case, California, again, playing absolute ball. Like, they were balling out. Defense had some good things. Offense had some good things and even brought them into overtime. And believe me, they weren't the only teams going into overtime. Vandy and Auburn also went into overtime. I thought Vandy was going to do a little bit more, actually, putting up 10 plus points. But like I said before about Auburn, they are a solid team. It's just they cannot win games. Even when they are only a possession or 10 point or 10, well, less than 10 points away from actually winning the game. And it shows. Auburn still, I don't think, still has won a singular conference game. I think. So, granted, Vandy is an incredible team. It still shows that Auburn can be right there with that other team, but they can't finish. It's just not going to happen. Sorry, guys. I don't know what the hell that is. Yeah. Again, sorry, guys. But anyway, like I said, these were very good, solid matchups. ACC had some ended up having some solid games, even though some people in their matchups were like, well, Louisville and Virginia were going to take care of it. Well, you lost those parlays, that's for damn sure. Miami took care of Syracuse, and kind of expected Washington actually also getting beat, with Wisconsin beating Washington at home only by 3 points, but at the same time another parlay gone. But SMU being able to beat Boston College, kind of figured that one. West Virginia beating Colorado, not necessarily too much to look at there, because Colorado is just Colorado at this point. They're not even going to get a bowl game this year, more than likely. Yeah, they're not even near making a bowl game anymore. But James Madison winning against Marshall, and then some of these other smaller teams here, but still getting the recognition that they Missouri State beating Liberty, Army beating Temple, beating Arkansas at home, Delaware getting a win against Louisiana Tech, Florida International putting up a lot of points against Middle Tennessee. See, a lot of teams are, if you actually look at these conference rankings too, you would actually see, like, man, like some of these teams before like week 6 or week 5 were doing pretty well, and now they're kind of doing the complete reverse. Jacksonville gets a win as the away team. East Carolina gets a win at home. Just a lot of back and forth here and there, and especially if you want to talk about parlays, I already saw this one on Facebook, but UConn beating Duke. A lot of people, I guess, had this as their like 10th or 11th leg parlay, or they were just kind of making fun of that, and Duke being the ones to win against UConn ends up actually hurting a lot of people's bets. So good on them. Arizona beating Kansas. I thought that was a pretty solid game in my opinion. TCU losing at home against Iowa State. Kennesaw State getting their win. Coastal Carolina University, they end up getting a win. North Carolina having back-to-back wins. Very good for Bill Belichick and that team there. I mean, you got to win how you got to win. University of Louisiana, they get a win, even though it was very back and forth offensively. Good to see that, though. Air Force being able to win against San Jose State. Clemson actually winning against Florida State. That was pretty good on them. Kentucky blowing Florida out of the water. My goodness. Now that's insane. You honestly, if I was anybody, I'd be mad at Florida from losing against Kentucky quite a bit. Now, granted, Kentucky is a solid program. Looked at a lot of their stuff the last 4 or 5 years, and I thought they could have been a very solid program, not just for basketball, but for football too. And it shows. It really does. I think they're probably just, I don't know, 10 million away from actually freaking throwing like 2 or 3 million of those dollars of the 10 million to some amazing superstar, to whether it be on defense or offense. But still, very solid coaching staff though, and hopefully, by the way, that 10 million joke, I'm not a fan of a bunch of teams getting so much fucking money. I think there should be a salary cap. Let me just put that out there. But anyway, yeah, Kentucky very surprised win, absolutely blowing Florida out of the water. Utah State doing the same exact thing, putting up a lot of points against Nevada. Nebraska having a very back and forth UCL game against UCLA, my bad, misspoke there. So Nebraska, the Cornhuskers, able to win as the away team. UNLV winning as the away team against Colorado State. Pretty sure both Colorado teams suck this year, and wasn't too much of a thought on that. Sam Houston versus Oregon State. It was okay. The passing and the rushing was all good and dandy. I think both of those two leaders, the passing and rushing, two separate teams there. And Hawaii blowing out San Diego State. So, well, very, very exciting matchups. And if you guys want to look back at those videos, you should. If you guys want to look back at my videos, please go do so. Leave some likes or some comments back over there. And speaking of that, like, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below on this video. Let me know what you think I got right about some of these things. You can go back to the preview video and see what I got right, and you can comment down below what I got wrong, or what I didn't give out in too much detail last video that I should have done in this video, or vice versa. So let me know what I can improve upon. If you guys don't think so, just, appreciate the fact that you guys are trying to view this, or you guys just randomly click on it. It helps me nonetheless. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, peace and have a good day.